Well, more of the wreckage of TWA Flight 800 is being brought to shore, but so far authorities do not know why the plane exploded shortly after takeoff. Joining us from London to help us understand what could have happened to the ill-fated jetliner is aviation expert John Morocco. Good morning, Mr. Morocco.
Good morning.
Now, from your experience, when do you think we will know the cause of the crash?
It could take some days, although it might be sooner than that. The teams will be looking at the wreckage, trying to recover it. It's not in that deep water, 120 feet. So it depends on how quickly they can get a look at the wreckage and get the black boxes.
How important are those black boxes?
They're very important because they contain much of the data in terms of the flight. So they'll be looking to go over those very carefully.
Now, are they needed to determine if this was a criminal act?
There are a variety of ways to determine that. If you look back at Lockerbie, it's an extremely difficult forensic task to try to find that. They'll be taking apart also looking at the wreckage, looking for scorch marks on the aircraft to try to determine cause.
How difficult is it to detect explosives?
It is not necessarily terribly difficult, but it is difficult in this case because you're talking about an aircraft that went into the water with all that involves, and also trying to determine cause from some of these explosives is difficult.
How difficult is it to determine if a criminal act or a terrorist act was involved in the crash of an airplane? Is it something that usually takes days, or is it something that is fairly obvious from the beginning?
With the case of, for example, Lockerbie, that was sort of a painstaking task of piecing together the evidence to get that, and that took some time. So this particular investigation, if that is indeed the case, if it is a terrorist act and a bomb, it might take some time.
Now, what about the credibility of eyewitness reports? How much credibility do you give those?
Eyewitness reports are good to help investigators understand, but eyewitness reports are difficult. There was one eyewitness report from one person who seems to be an extremely credible witness, a C-130 pilot from the New York Air National Guard, and there are reports that he was talking about seeing a streak of light going towards the aircraft, which has raised speculation of a shoulder-fired infrared missile being part of the cause. But
now, that theory has been
difficult.
Eliminated, right. That theory, too, has been eliminated. What about the process of elimination? Will that play an important role, being able to just eliminate theory by theory?
Yes, it'll be a step-by-step process to try to track down cause and effect.
What about the timeline? Will that play any factor in determining the cause?
Timeline in what sense?
As far as the crash, from takeoff to explosion, will that help investigators any?
Perhaps. It's very difficult to say. The aircraft was only at about 8,000 feet, so you're looking at a situation where the cabin is not fully getting to the point where it has to be fully pressurized, and you can have some kind of puncture or a hole that has been made in the hull that would cause sort of a great deal of damage, would cause flying objects that might hit into the engines and then spin off things that would hit the fuel in the tanks and then cause an explosion. Mm-hmm. They hadn't reached their full max altitude of about 30,000 some odd feet, so it's difficult to say.
All right. John Morocco joining us this morning from London. We thank you. He is with Aviation Week. Again, thank you for your expertise. It is now about 14 minutes before the hour. Just ahead, we'll take a look at what else is making news this morning. Stay with us.
Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, we're here to help. help you take advantage of the moment and help you plan for the next. Because American Express is here to help you do more.
You know, I still can't believe we're here so soon after your hip surgery.
Hey, I wouldn't let you down on our anniversary.
Are you overdoing it? How's the pain?
Oh, I feel great. Took some Tylenol. Extra strength.
I'm still surprised the doctor gave you Tylenol after surgery.
For post-surgical pain, Tylenol is recommended the most by doctors.
Oh, where did you learn that?
I think it came with my new hip.
Tylenol, the pain reliever hospitals use most.
What's the easiest way to get out of a 4x4? Get into this instead. The Audi A6 Quattro. With Quattro all-wheel drive and all the comforts of a German luxury car, it's what more and more 4x4 owners are getting into and out of every day.
Most things that go this fast have safety cages, crumple zones, and airbags.
We'll have more on the TWA crash throughout the day, but first, here's a look at other stories making news this morning. Bosnian Serb leader Radovan Karadzic has resigned and agreed to step down as head of the Serbian Democratic Party. The agreement formalizing Karadzic's resignation was announced earlier on CNN by Richard Holbrooke, U.S. Special Envoy to the former Yugoslavia. The agreement bars Karadzic from public appearances and participation in Bosnia's September elections. The agreement had been finalized earlier in Belgrade during talks between Holbrooke and Serbian President Slobodan Milosevic. Well, President Clinton heads for Atlanta today amid security already tight for the Olympic Games. Common sights downtown include concrete barriers to control traffic and access to Olympic venues and handheld scanners that check credentials. Airport-style metal detectors will also screen those entering Olympic venues. The president is scheduled to witness the lighting of the Olympic torch and declare the games officially open. The National Weather Service is calling it likely the worst flood event ever. Rain and more rain has been wreaking havoc in the Chicago area and parts of Indiana. In Aurora, Illinois, 17 inches fell within 24 hours. For the first time in 6 years, officials yesterday opened the floodgates at the Chicago River. That poured millions of gallons of diluted sewage into Lake Michigan and closed down beaches in the 90-degree heat. For the latest on the flooding there, as well as a look at weather in East Moriches, New York this morning, here's Ted Texter in the Weather Center. Good morning, Ted.
Good morning, Andrea. Good morning, everybody. On Long Island Sound, we do have a small craft advisory. We could see seas of about 1 to 3 feet throughout the daytime, and winds will likely pick up to maybe 25 knots. There is rain moving through the area. Farther to the west in the region, there's a larger storm, and as we mentioned, it brought an awful lot of rain into the Chicago area. In fact, nearly 17 inches of rain fell. That's a record, an all-time record, in Aurora, Illinois. That rain is subsiding, but the waters have still taken some time to run off. It looks like this storm will continue pushing east, and we will watch it probably bring some heavier rains across the New York City area in the next day or so, right on into the weekend. In fact, here's a closer-up view of what's going on here. Out across the Sound, it looks like we're going to continue with those rain showers throughout the daytime. Well, the rain farther to the west is still falling, but to the south and to the east, we look for very good weather throughout the afternoon into the evening time for opening ceremonies for the Centennial Olympic Games. In fact, probably by opening ceremonies time, about 8 o'clock, we'll see temperatures running about 85 to 88 degrees, and looks like we're going to be mostly clear. We'll have more through the day for you. Andrea?
All right, thanks, Ted. Well, just ahead, we will be back with more on the crash of TWA Flight 800.
We just ask the country to please fight this type of terrorism that takes the lives of innocent children. It makes absolutely no sense to take babies.
off-road tires may take you there. Coopers are designed to also bring you back. Cooper, your next set of tires.
Sprint has a great offer for your small business. A year of long distance on Fridays free.
I'll call you next Friday.
Call now 1-800-598-5000 and don't miss another free Friday at work only from Sprint Business.
How do you know if you have termites? Call the experts at 1-800-TERMINIX. Terminix offers the best termite guarantees in the business. Call 1-800-TERMINIX while you still can.
Some people clean their dentures in the daytime, but if you soak at night, now you can get a deeper, better clean with this new Polident Overnight. It's the only soak specially made to clean all night. Its unique enzyme formula penetrates extra deep to clean and whiten better than daytime soaks. And its minty mouthwash formula helps control denture odor. So get new Polident Overnight and wake up to a better clean. Look for it next to fast-acting 5-minute Polident.
Whose tires offer great handling and traction, plus precision cornering. Cooper. Precisely. Cooper, your next set of tires.
Log on to CNN Interactive, rated #1 among all basic cable websites. The whole world of CNN on the World Wide Web. We're here 24 hours a day at CNN.com.
Updating you now on the latest that we know of the TWA crash. One top priority is finding the flight recorders from TWA Flight 800. They could provide clues to why the jumbo jet with 230 people aboard exploded and crashed Wednesday night off East Moriches, New York. 140 bodies and a lot of wreckage have been recovered, but there's no sign of survivors. Navy divers with sonar equipment may enter the ocean sometime today, but choppy waters and showers in the area could affect the recovery effort.
Today is, of course, the opening of the Olympics, a much long-awaited and anticipated event. But no matter how brightly the Olympic flame burns, it will not dispel the shadow that is being cast all the way from Long Island here. CNN's Bruce Morton explains.
We were supposed to come together this week to celebrate youth and strength and speed. We were supposed, if we thought of sand and oceans, to think of kids and summer sweetness. Now that's all changed, and what has brought us together is a dark sea, one more unexplained and heavy loss. Especially heavy in Montoursville, Pennsylvania, where 16 kids and 5 sponsors were bound for France. Principal Don Chandler put his head in his hands. But loss and grief and fear were people everywhere.
I felt sorrow for the people, but it was a pain of fear, too.
I'm not flying for a long time. I think that they need to get a grip on this. That's what I think.
We remembered, how could we not remember, Oklahoma City.
In Oklahoma, sometimes a guy was sitting at one desk and another guy was sitting at another desk, and then he turned around a second later, one guy was gone and the other guy survived. There's no explanation. And to try to understand why somebody was on this particular flight at this certain time, you know, no one can understand things like that.
A Greek poet wrote, "Pain, which cannot forget, falls drop by drop upon the heart, until in the end, against our will, comes wisdom through the awful grace of God." But we have no wisdom yet, only the pain and the vision of a dark sea full of death and grief. Bruce Morton, CNN, Washington.
A business day comes your way after daybreak this morning. Let's check in with New York and see what's coming up. Good morning.
And good morning, Andrea. Many thanks. We will, of course, be getting the latest news on TWA Flight 800.
In financial news, there is concern this morning some late earnings reports could spoil the mood on Wall Street.
That's right. Tech stocks under pressure in London this morning. What does that mean for Wall Street today? We'll cover that story and a good deal more coming up on Business Day. Andrea?
All right. Thanks, Deborah Stewart. Well, CNN's coverage of the probe into the fatal explosion and crash of TWA Flight 800 will continue. For now, I'm Andrea Arsenault.
And I'm Martin Savage out at the crash site in Long Island, and we will, of course, continue to be here to bring you updates.
is the place for something news and different in the morning. This is CNN.
Be my love, for no one else can end this yearning.
He's been called one of the greatest tenors in music history. Placido Domingo. Heartland Music presents one of the world-famous three tenors, Placido Domingo, in a very special collection.
Spanish eyes, teardrops are falling from your Spanish eyes, younger than springtime.
Placido's great voice makes every song more beautiful than ever.
Where do I begin to tell the story of how great love can
24 classics. You'll love the beautiful voice of Placido Domingo in one of the most romantic, enjoyable collections ever. But it's not in stores. Please stay tuned to order yours now.
Because you are mine.
Call 1-800-257-1257 to save all COD charges and pay only $14.98 for cassettes or $19.98 for 2 CDs, plus $3.50 shipping. Use your credit card or send check or money order to Placido Domingo, P.O. Box 2919, Atlanta, Georgia. Remember, save all COD charges by sending check or money order or use your credit card.
This is CNN.
The stock market. It takes one giant step forward, rallying 87 points.
But right now, earnings reports are pressuring some U.S. technology stocks in London. Will the market take a step backward today?
We'll see. Reassuring statements on inflation from Fed Chairman Greenspan, and that calms some worried investors.
Now, investors don't seem to be so sure that interest rates are on the rise.
Live from CNN's financial newsroom in New York City, the world's financial capital. This is Business Day with Stuart Varney and Deborah Marchini.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Business Day. It is Friday, July 19th, 1996. I'm Stuart Varney.
And I'm Deborah Marchini. We'll get details on those and all the other morning's top financial stories, plus the weekend weather outlook in just a moment.
As well as the latest on the investigation into the explosion of TWA Flight 800. CNN's Martin Savage, live now at the crash site in East Mauritius, Long Island, with a preview. Good morning to you, Martin.
Good morning, Stuart. And sunlight has returned to the area once more, but it's a gloomy morning and rain is coming down. Weather could be a factor as part of the recovery effort. We will continue to bring you live coverage from the crash scene here on Long Island throughout the morning. Deborah and Stuart.
All right, thanks a lot, Martin. And we will also be getting back to you for an update in this a little while. Right now, we have our top story, though.
All right, traders went home pretty happy Thursday after an 87-point rally for the Dow Jones Industrial Average. However, this morning it could be a different story.
The culprit, once again, high technology earnings, which sparked a major sell-off earlier this week. After the closing bell, several companies posted quarterly results, and shares of some of those firms are now sharply lower in London trading.
First, though, let's see what those stocks did yesterday in New York. Repeat, this is yesterday in New York. Netscape Communications up 4.5 points. The web browser made 1 cent per share, or $906,000, coming in well below analysts' expectations. Iomega gained 1 7/8. That was yesterday. The maker of the popular Zip disk drive met analysts' expectations, reporting a $14 million second quarter profit. That's 11 cents a share. Sales rose 5-fold. Sun Microsystems up 3 7/16 before the release of its earnings, which were disappointing. It made 62 cents a share, 84 cents a share had been expected. The biotech company Amgen, which gained a point in New York yesterday, that was much better than predicted. Earnings came from the biotech maker after the closing bell. That's welcome news for the biotech sector. which more than most other sectors has been a serious correction in the past several weeks. Deborah.
Well, Stuart, as you mentioned, some of the stocks are really suffering in London this morning.
That's right. For that and more market reaction overseas, let's go to Cecil McCarthy joining us from our London bureau. Good morning, Cecil.
Good morning, Stuart and Deborah. Well, those high-tech stocks not too popular here in London this morning. Dealers disappointed by earnings reports, and many of them sharply lower right now. Beginning with Netscape, it's down $1.50. Iomega's losing 4.5%. That's a staggering 15% loss. Sun Microsystems down 2 11/16. But Amgen, the standout today, that stock soaring 5%, with investors viewing its earnings favorably. Now, as for London's stock market, it's up nearly 23 points. Wall Street's rally raising morale all over Europe. In Frankfurt, the DAX index is gaining 16. The CAC 40 in Paris is up 11 points, and in Zurich, the SMI up 36. Well, the dollar is trading around yesterday's closes. Little reaction to a slowdown in German money supply growth. M3 now rising at an annual rate of 9.6% in June. As for the dollar, up just a notch on the German mark, slightly higher on the yen, and also up a fraction on the British pound. Finally, traders in Tokyo, uninspired by Wall Street's gains, the Nikkei closing down 90 points at 21,476. And we do have this just in. European plane maker Airbus is threatening legal action against Boeing for remarks it says Boeing made in sales negotiations with Air India. Now you have all the latest news from London. Back to you, Deborah and Stuart.
Cecil McCarthy in London. Many thanks.
Well, the stock market will try to make it 4 straight gains today after Monday's plunge. Thursday, the market staged a stunning rally, boosted by statements from Federal Reserve Chairman Alan Greenspan that seemed to hint at steady interest rates.
Here's the numbers. The Dow Industrials up 87 points. 54.64 was the close. As you may recall, the blue chips sank 161 points Monday, but have been climbing back ever since. The rally's strength are growing almost every day. As for the Standard & Poor's 500 index, it gained 9 points to 643. The Nasdaq, that's the S&P 500. The Nasdaq Composite, well, that rallied 23 points to 1109 on the heels of Wednesday's 33-point jump, the largest ever.
Earnings reports dictated action in several key stocks. AT&T lost 2 1/4 despite second quarter earnings that matched Wall Street estimates. Investors wanted faster revenue growth. McDonald's up 1 1/8 that topped earnings forecasts. Sears rose 1/4. Its second quarter results came in strong, but earnings nevertheless were off 51% from the 1995 quarter. And Apple Computer jumped 4. Late Wednesday, it reported a much narrower loss than analysts had expected.
There's a switch. Federal Reserve Chairman Alan Greenspan is saying the words that investors seem to want to hear these days, triggering rallies in stocks and in bonds. Mr. Greenspan told the Senate Banking Committee yesterday he sees no signs that inflation is a problem, despite robust economic growth. But he did say that if all of that changes, the central bank will act.
I am confident that the Federal Open Market Committee would move to tighten reserve market conditions should the weight of incoming evidence persuasively suggest an oncoming intensification of inflation pressures that would jeopardize the durability of the economic expansion.
Moved sharply higher in trading on Greenspan.